Hey Crushers, and welcome back for today's guide on basic Rune builds. Today's video will be a simple look at Rune builds for the typical hero. There are some heroes that require very specific builds, but those won't be covered today. The objective is to help you wrap your head around what runes to look for at the generic hero archetypes. We will start by outlining the basic roles. We have tanks, smashers, backline, ground DPS, backline flying DPS, and crowd control. As we progress through today's video, you'll be seeing some of these builds consistently represented. It is important to remember that your own rune availability will differ from mine, and you'll need to make your build decisions based on what you actually have, rather than strictly what I have and use. We have two basic kinds of tanks. We have barbarian tanks and we have knight tanks. We want HP primary runes with as much move speed as possible and as little attack range as possible. Because we want our tanks to be as bulky as possible and to reach the enemy front line as quickly as possible. Do you see how many times I have to say possible here for this to be possible? For barbarians, we want vitality, nimble, and guard runes. For knight heroes, we want vitality, nimble, and flanks runes. These sets are the best for your tanks given their respective types. Defense is also a good secondary trait for tank heroes, but ultimately not as good or important as HP. There are other bulky heroes we build for some other classes and jobs, but these heroes aren't the typical representation of their job type and will not be covered in today's video. Next up we have smashers, which include heroes, lancer heroes like Atlantis and Onyx, as well as some brawler heroes like Monkey Rabadi, gunner heroes like Torch, and magician heroes like Tesla and Manta. What we want here is as much AoE, or area of effect, as possible, with some attack per second sprinkled in for most of these heroes. Generally, we would want resist and precise, and any relevant third set for that specific hero. A hero like Monkey Rabadi would do good with a resist, precise, and nimble set, for example. Attack range should generally be avoided on smashers, with the exception of Monkey Rabadi, who does benefit from some attack range to keep him alive longer. A different hero to consider would be Onyx, who does good with resist, precise, and vitality runes. A backline smasher like Manta does good with resist, precise, and swift. Again, that third set can be flexible for that specific hero's needs. I still run Splash for a lot of my smasher heroes, so if you need to do that yourself, that is always an option. You are going to want enough attack range to keep these heroes behind your tanks. Use friendly battles to balance their move speed with your tanks. The actual amount of AoE needed does vary, so I'd recommend popping onto the official Discord and asking in the questions section how much AoE is needed for your selected smasher hero. For those of you who like advanced knowledge, I'll mention that Manta's AoE starts at the target, so you'll want the same base AoE for her regardless of her attack range. Other heroes, Thorn and Zac, for example, all start on their own location, which is slightly in front of themselves. Their AoE will need to be increased based on the amount of attack range they have, so keep that in mind as you add attack range to them. Next up, we have ground-based DPS heroes. This is going to represent the majority of our gunner and ranger units like Scud, Sorrow, and Dark Hunter. These heroes work best with attack per second primary or attack primary. Then we want attack range and attack secondary traits. Generally speaking, we would want precise, frenzy, and resist runes as the endgame build, and it's really only worth it after maxing all the basic paragons for the offensive and defense paragon trees. Though precise, damage, and rage works decently too, damage, swift, precise can also work, but would be the least efficient build of these options. Torch is kind of an exception to all of this though, as he needs 240 AoE to reach from crystal to crystal. For flying-based DPS heroes like Seraph, we want attack per second primary or attack primary with as much attack range and attack secondary as possible. The best set for these heroes will typically be damage, rage, precise, though damage, swift, precise can also work. Also keep in mind that runes with attack primary cannot have attack as a secondary stat. It also helps to remember that attack per second cannot be a secondary trait. Finally, we have crowd control heroes. We have two primary kinds of crowd control, stun and freeze. Stunning is pretty straightforward. These will be heroes like Zack, Low-Star Monkey King, Necromancer, and even Cersei. Stunning, dazed, and swift runes with attack per second primaries are what is needed. A lot of those heroes do great with AoE as well, in particular Monkey King and Zack. So alternative builds would be Stunning, Dazed, and Splash with AoE or attack per second primaries, or just Stunning, Dazed, and Swift with AoE primaries. I want to stress that attack per second is the most important thing here. However, some of these crowd control heroes need a specific amount of AoE to be effective. Monkey King and Zack both need 300 AoE. If you can't get that through your normal rune sets, then you should be running Splash in here to achieve it. Another hero to consider is Namida, who needs 120 AoE. For freeze crowd control, you really want to run Ice Queen. She causes freeze explosions. Frost Queen teams are much more effective against teams that do not run Monkey Mary. Monkey Mary hurts Frost Queen Freeze Bomb teams a lot with his base resist chance. When it comes to Freeze Bombs, we want as many of those as possible, so we'll be wanting Chilling runes, but not Frozen runes. We don't want to extend the freeze duration, we're wanting to have as many explosions as possible. Water heroes can be given Chilling runes to give them a base freeze chance or increase their pre-existing freeze chance. So the sets we want are going to be Chilling, Swift, and Damage with attack per second primaries. If the hero benefits from AoE, then Chilling, Swift, and Splash with AoE or attack per second would be viable options too. Several standard options for crowd control heroes in general. As I conclude today's video, I'd like to thank several Discord users who helped contribute to the content covered today. Namely, I'd like to thank Madwad, Usurper, Alithor, and Techno. I'd also like to thank users such as yourself, who watch my videos and encourage me to continue making content. Your contributions are more appreciated than you know. If you'd like to support this channel in other ways, there are several things you can do. Comments, likes, and subscribing are great ways to show your support. You can also show your support financially by contributing to my Patreon. The link to becoming a patron of this YouTube channel is in the description below this video as well. That's all the time we have for today. I appreciate you watching this video through to the very end. Thanks for watching.